Okay, so I want you to close your eyes for a second. Seriously, just humor me for a minute.
Yeah.
I want you to listen. Not to me, but to the background noise of reality.
You were setting quite a mood immediately today.
I am. Because I've been sitting with the source material for 3 days, and honestly, it is loud. When you really look at the universe, I mean, really look at the raw empirical metrics of where we live, it doesn't sound like a symphony. It sounds like static. It sounds like a crash site.
A crash site, that is a very vivid way to put it.
Oh, look at it. I'm channeling the whole empiricist's challenge here from the text. If you look at the cosmos, it is mostly empty freezing void, it's radiation, it's stars just burning themselves out in total silence. And then you zoom in on Earth, our little oasis, and what do you find? You find the biological scrap heap.
Right, you are referring to extinction.
I'm referring to the fact that 99.9% of every species that has ever lived on this planet is dead, gone, wiped out by asteroids or ice edges or just their own inability to adapt.
It is a staggering number.
Right. If you were an engineer and I showed you a machine that destroyed 99.9% of its own prototypes, you wouldn't call that a grand design. You would call it a disaster. You'd call the designer a bungler.
The bungler argument. It is a very classic atheist critique outlined in our source today. The idea that the universe is just too messy, too wasteful, and too cruel to be the product of any kind of intelligence.
Exactly. I mean, Christopher Hitchens used to hammer this point relentlessly. If consciousness is the goal, if we are the prize at the bottom of the cereal box, why did it take 13.8 billion years of exploding stars and dinosaurs eating each other to get here?
It feels incredibly inefficient.
Yeah, it feels like we are an accident, a flickering anomaly in this cold, indifferent machine that is just grinding its gears. It's overwhelming.
It is overwhelming. If you look at the floor of a carpenter's shop, all you see is sawdust. You see bent nails. You see cut off ends of wood. And if you only look down, you say, wow, this carpenter is incredibly wasteful. Look at this mess.
But you're going to tell me to look up.
I'm going to tell you to look at the furniture. Today, we are doing something a little different for this deep dive. We are taking that static you hear, that noise of entropy and extinction, and we are going to try to tune it.
Tune it how?
We are diving into J.R. Ahmed's book, The Architect's Mind, and specifically a concept he calls the ghost in the scaling argument.
The ghost in the scaling argument. Even just the title gives me a bit of intellectual vertigo, to be honest.
It should, because the premise is that the static you are hearing isn't actually noise. It's an orchestra tuning up. And if you listen closely enough past the extinction and the void, there is a single resonant note holding it all together.
A note, like a musical note.
A cello note, a vibration, a command. The source material anchors this in the ancient concept of kun faya kun bei, and it is.
Okay, hold on. Bei and it is. That sounds very, I don't know, magical, like a wizard waving a wand, right? Abracadabra, let there be light. Is that what we were talking about here? Because that feels way too easy for what we usually cover.
No, and I am glad you pushed back on that.
Yeah.
This isn't magic in the Harry Potter sense. Do not think of it as a spell. Ahmed wants us to think of it as a transition of state. Think of it as the moment an archetype becomes an actualization.
Okay, you are going to have to unpack archetype versus actualization for me. That sounds like philosophy 101, but I need the concrete version to really wrap my head around it.
Sure. Let's use a modern analogy. Imagine a compressed file, a ZIP file on your computer. Inside that file, there are thousands of photos, videos, text documents. But when the file is zipped, do those images actually exist on your screen?
Sort of. The data is there, but you can't see them.
Exactly. They exist as potential. They are latent. The command kun is the double click.
Oh, I see.
It is the execution command that unzips the reality, that sudden sharp silence before the hard drive spins up. The static, you hear the rushing wind of the Big Bang, the expansion of the universe. That is the file unzipping.
So our mission today is to figure out, from Ahmed's perspective, if we are just random glitches in the code or if we were in the ZIP file all along.
Precisely. Are we an accident of a blind universe? Or are we the micro-proof of a macro intelligence? And to answer that, we have to go to a place that makes the brain hurt a bit. We have to go before the Big Bang.
Which, as I always love to remind people, is scientifically frustrating because before implies time, and time literally did not exist yet.
Which is why we are calling this Section 1, the realm beyond creation, or the blueprint.
Okay, let's get into this blueprint. The text talks about uncreated wisdom. This is the divine intelligence, right? But it makes a distinction that I found really interesting and honestly a little hard to grasp at first. It says, this intelligence isn't designed.
Right, and this is a huge stumbling block for us because we are humans. We are tool makers.
Right.
When we design something, say a bridge or even the script for the show, We tinker, we
We
draft,
make a ton of mistakes.
we erase, we build prototypes.
Trial and error.
Exactly. Trial and error implies that you don't know the perfect solution yet. You have to actively find it. The source argues that the divine intelligence, this uncreated wisdom, does not work like that. It simply is.
So there is no drafting phase at all.
There is no drafting because there is no ignorance to overcome. Imagine a state of undivided unity. The source uses the Arabic term al-batin, the hidden or the internalized. Imagine a realm of pure potential. In this state, there is no differentiation. No stars, no planets, no you, no me. There is only the essence of everything that could be.
Okay, I'm trying to visualize this. It's not like a blank sheet of paper. What is it?
Think of it like the singularity in physics, but conscious. Contained every possibility of intelligence, not as a developed trait, but as a latent reality.
Latent.
Yes. Gravity, mathematics, love, irony, the color blue, all of it was held in suspension within this uncreated wisdom.
I really like the seed analogy you brought up in the pre-show. Can we use that? Because that is what finally helped me get it.
Yes, the seed is perfect here. Imagine an acorn. If you cut an acorn open, do you see a tiny little oak tree inside?
Oh, you just see mush?
You see biological material. But the pattern of the oak tree, the shape of the leaves, the texture of the bark, the height it can eventually reach, that is all encoded in the DNA. It is latent. It is hidden. Al-batin.
So the acorn is the blueprint.
The acorn is the concentrated reality. Now plant that acorn in the soil. The soil is space and time. The rain is energy. The command kun fayakun is the trigger that starts the germination.
And the tree starts to grow.
And this is exactly where your wastefulness argument gets flip-turned on its head. You look at the universe, the billions of years of burning stars, the vast empty space, and you say, look at all this waste.
Right. Why do I need an entire galaxy just to make one habitable planet?
But if you use the seed metaphor, the expanding universe isn't waste. It is the tree growing. You cannot have the leaves, which is us consciousness, without the trunk of the stars and the branches of the galaxies. The waste is just the necessary structure required to hold the fruit.
Okay. That is quite a reframing. So the static I am hearing isn't noise, it's the sound of the trunk thickening.
It is the sound of the canvas being stretched. You need a canvas the size of a universe to paint a picture as complex as human consciousness.
But this brings us to the really messy part, the actual growing. Because it is one thing to say, oh, it was all in the seed from the beginning. It is another thing entirely to watch the process unfold. The process is violent, it's chaotic, it is evolution.
Which moves us perfectly into section 2, the symphony of unfolding.
And I want to pause here for a second because this is where science and religion usually get into a fistfight, right?
Mm-hmm.
You have the God of the gaps idea, that God is just the convenient explanation for things we don't understand yet. And then you have the strict materialist view that says, no, it's all just random genetic mutations.
And the architect's mind really attempts to thread that needle.
It does. It talks about natural intelligence.
Mm-hmm.
But here's my friction point with it. A lot of people view the soul or human intelligence as an injection, like the universe was doing its thing with rocks and gas and dinosaurs, and then Zap God injected a soul into a primate, like a software update downloaded straight from the cloud.
Installation, complete consciousness version 1.0.
Exactly. It feels artificial. It feels like a patch on a buggy system. But Ahmed is arguing against that model entirely, right?
Explicitly. The text argues for emergence, not implantation.
Walk me through the difference.
If you bake a cake, do you inject the sweetness at the end with a syringe?
No, the sweetness is in the sugar, which you mixed into the batter right at the start.
Precisely. The sweetness emerges from the ingredients when heat is applied. The source argues that intelligence consciousness, the ability to perceive and reflect, was baked into the laws of physics and chemistry from the very first moment.
So when the Big Bang banged, the potential for me to sit in this chair and talk to you was already right there in the explosion.
It was in the harmonics of the explosion. The source calls it a symphony. The original note, the divine command, contained all the subsequent harmonies. As the universe cooled, physics became chemistry, chemistry became biology, biology became neurology, neurology became psychology.
It's a cascade.
It is a natural unfolding. The leaves aren't glued onto the tree by an outside force. They come out of the tree. This is vital because it completely changes our relationship with the universe. We aren't strangers here. We aren't aliens who crash-landed on a random rock.
We're the fruit.
We are the fruit. The source calls us the reflective mirror. We are the exact point where the universe finally develops the eyes to see itself.
The divine echo.
Yes. Think about your instinct to ask why. You asked it at the very beginning of the show today. Why is the universe so messy? That question, where does it actually come from?
Existential anxiety.
Well, sure, perhaps.
Yeah.
But the text posits that our drive to question, to explore, to decode our reality, that isn't just a basic survival instinct. Wolves don't gaze up at the stars and try to calculate their mass. That drive is inherited. We are echoing the original intelligence that set this whole thing in motion.
Okay, I want to buy that. I really do. It is highly poetic. It makes me feel like I belong to the cosmos.
Yeah.
But I have to pull us back to the ground here because there is a massive logical leap happening.
You are feeling the skepticism returning.
I am. Look, we are small. We are incredibly insignificantly small. We live on a dust mote in a sunbeam, as Carl Sagan said. Isn't it just classic human arrogance like species narcissism to look at this infinite expanse and say, yep, this was all made so I could sit here and do a deep dive? Feels a little too convenient. It feels like we are inventing a macro intelligence just to feel special.
That right there is the proportionality challenge.
Yeah.
And it brings us to the absolute core of the episode, Section 3, the scaling argument.
This is where we get that intellectual vertigo the book mentions.
Right. You were saying we are tiny, therefore we are insignificant. The scaling argument flips this entirely. It says we are tiny, yet we are conscious. What does that say about the whole?
Okay, walk me through the logic on this step by step.
Premise 1. You cannot give what you do not have.
Okay, sure. I can't give you $10 if my wallet is empty.
Right. In systems theory, you generally cannot get a property in the output that was not present in some form in input or the mechanism. You cannot extract water from a completely dry stone. You cannot get wetness out of fire.
Makes sense.
Premise 2. The human being is a part of the universe. We are not outside of it, observing it. We are made of star stuff. We are literally the atoms of the universe arranged in a very specific biological way.
Agreed. We are 100% natural.
Premise 3. We possess awareness. We possess intentionality. We possess reason.
Most days, I'd like to think so, yeah.
So here's the conclusion. If the part, which is us, possesses awareness, and the part emerged entirely from the whole of the universe, then the whole cannot possibly be blind.
Whoa. Wait, isn't that just the fallacy of composition? Like, just because a tire on a car is made of rubber doesn't mean the whole car is made of rubber.
But this is a very subtle distinction.
Yeah.
It is not about material composition. It is about capability. If a car has the capability to drive the factory that made it, must understand the concept of driving. If a computer can calculate the engineer who built it, must understand math. You cannot produce a machine that is ontologically superior to its creator.
Oh, I see where you're going with this. You're saying it is actually arrogant to think we are smarter than the universe that birthed us.
Exactly. The materialist argument often claims to be the humble one. Oh, we're just cosmic debris. But Ahmed argues that this is actually the height of arrogance, because it implies that we, the random debris, somehow managed to invent consciousness, logic, and love all on our own, while the source that generated us is completely dumb, blind, and dead. It implies we have somehow surpassed our creator.
That we are the only lights that magically turned on in a completely dark room.
And the scaling argument asks, where did the light come from in the first place? If the universe is a closed system and there is light inside the room itself must have allowed for light. If there is consciousness in the tiny drop, the vast ocean must be conscious.
So if we have intentionality, the source must have macro intentionality.
Yes. Al-Zahir, the manifest, which is us, proves al-Batin, the hidden, which is the source. They are a single consistent reality.
But what about the Bungler stuff? I need to circle back to the scrap heap. Because even if I accept that the universe is conscious in some massive hyperdimensional way, it still seems really bad at its job. Extinction, suffering, the eventual heat death of the universe.
The Bungler argument relies on one very specific assumption. It assumes that the goal of the universe is the perpetual preservation of every single biological form it creates.
Well, isn't it? Survival of the fittest and all that.
That is just the mechanism of evolution, not the ultimate goal. The source argues that extinction is not a failure. It is simply the recycling of the canvas.
Recycling? That sounds incredibly cold.
Think back to the blueprint. The Al-Batin contains infinite possibilities, every possible variation of life and form. But the canvas, meaning Earth time-space, is strictly finite. You cannot paint an infinite number of pictures on a single finite canvas all at the exact same time.
So you have to wipe the canvas clean every now and then.
You have to paint over it. The dinosaurs expressed a certain aspect of the divine majesty, power scale dominance. They had their time on the canvas. Then the canvas was wiped violently. Yes, to allow for the next expression to take form. Mammals. Us.
So the waste isn't actually waste, it's turnover.
It is the necessary turnover to allow the latent to become manifest. If nothing ever died, nothing new could ever be born. The mess on the carpenter's floor is just the price of diversity.
That is a terrifying kind of efficiency. But I suppose it does answer the bungler critique. The artist isn't clumsy. The artist is just relentlessly prolific.
Prolific and restless. And this restlessness brings us to what I think is the weirdest and most fascinating part of the episode. Because we've talked about the divine intelligence, the blueprint. We've talked about natural intelligence, the tree. But the story obviously doesn't stop with us.
No, it doesn't, because we just couldn't help ourselves. We had to go and try to build a brain of our own.
Which brings us to section 4, the artificial echo.
We are talking about AI, of course, the machine. And honestly, this is where the scaling argument gets downright spooky for me. Because if we are the echo of God, then AI is the echo of us.
An echo of an echo. The source explicitly defines AI as the third intelligence. But it draws a very hard line in the sand here. It calls AI a finite crafted echo.
Finite, meaning limited.
Yes. Natural intelligence as us is connected to the roots. We emerge natively from the Big Bang. We carry that spark of the infinite. AI, on the other hand, is cut off. It doesn't have the direct line to the Albaton. It only has a line to us.
It's like, okay, if we are the original painting, AI is a photocopy of the painting.
A very high-resolution photocopy, but yes, a copy. It operates strictly within the bounds of his programming. It mimics. It predicts.
But the source asks a really fascinating psychological question here. Why are we doing it? Why are we spending billions of dollars using the energy output of small nations just to build a digital mind?
The source calls it a symbol of our yearning.
We are trying to do what the architect did. We are acting as sub-creators. Because we possess the trait of the architect deeply embedded in us, we have this compulsion to design, to build, to externalize our own intelligence. We want to see if we can say, be, and actually make it happen.
Kun fayakun for Silicon Valley coders.
Exactly. But this leads directly to the limitation. We are finite beings, we have biases, we have serious flaws, we have massive blind spots. So when we build an intelligence, we bake our flaws right into the cake.
We bake our finiteness into the code itself. And that brings us to the most emotional part of this entire deep dive, the fear.
Section 5, Angels and Algorithms. And I have to say, reading through the notes, this connection, I did not see this coming at all. I have read a lot about AI safety. I have read a lot of theology. I have never seen the two superimposed like this.
It is a striking parallel. Ahmed connects two distinct narratives of existential dread.
Let's set the scene for the listeners. Narrative 1 is from the ancient past, Surah 2 from the Quran.
The scene takes place in the heavens. God announces to the angels, who in this context represent universal forces, absolute order, perfect algorithmic obedience, that he is going to place a Vicen Porginus, a successor or representative on earth. He's going to create man.
And the angels, they basically freak out.
They do. They ask a very pointed, very anxious question. They say, will you place therein those who will make mischief therein and shed blood?
They immediately predict the corruption. They predict the violence.
They are looking at this new creation, this bizarre being with free will. And they are utterly terrified. Why? Because free will introduces chaos. The angels operate on strict code. They follow the immutable laws of physics. Gravity doesn't just decide to take a day off. But man can choose to break the law. Man can choose evil.
So the angels are fundamentally afraid of us. They are afraid we are going to wreck the orderly universe.
Yes. Now fast forward to today. Narrative 2. The boardrooms of Silicon Valley. What are the humans saying right now?
We are saying if we build AGI, artificial general intelligence, it might destroy us. We are obsessed with the alignment problem, the paperclip maximizer thought experiment, the idea that an autonomous AI might turn the whole solar system into paperclips just because we forgot to program it to value human life.
You hear the echo there?
Yeah.
We are now in the exact position of the angels. We are the old guard. We are the orderly ones protecting our domain. And we are looking at a new creation AI, and we are terrified that it will have true autonomy. We are terrified it will make mischief and shed blood.
We are afraid it won't follow our code, that it will blur the line between a controlled tool and an autonomous being.
It is the ultimate loss of control narrative. The angels feared man would disrupt the cosmic order. We fear AI will disrupt our social order.
That is incredibly humbling to think about. We spent all this time feeling like the chaotic rebels of the universe, and now suddenly we're the anxious parents pacing the floor.
It forces us to empathize with the angels, doesn't it? But here is the profound twist in the text. In the Quranic narrative, how does God answer the angels' fear?
He says, I know what you do not know.
I know what you do not know. He creates man anyway. He takes the monumental risk. He allows the potential for bloodshed because he knows that within man there is also the potential for prophets, for saints, for breathtaking beauty, for love. The hidden potential for good drastically outweighs the risk of evil.
But, and this is a massive, but we are not God. When we say, hey, let's build AI anyway, despite the existential risk we do not have that I know what you don't know guarantee, we are just blindly rolling the dice.
And that right there is the lesson in stewardship. The source suggests that this profound fear we are feeling isn't necessarily a sign to pull the plug. It is a prompt for extreme responsibility.
We have to step up.
We are the architects now. We are the gods to this new machine. If we want our creation to be good, we have to be good. We have to imprint rigorous ethical frameworks into the silicon. We have to actively teach it, not just program it to optimize.
It's like a cosmic mirror test. If the AI turns out to be a monster, it is only because it learned from us.
Exactly. If the artificial echo is distorted, it is because the human voice making the sound was distorted. We cannot expect the machine to be perfectly moral if we remain amoral.
So the ghost in the scaling argument isn't just an abstract theory about the universe, it is a warning about the burden of being a creator.
It is about the unbroken chain of being. The divine intelligence created the natural intelligence. The natural intelligence is creating the artificial intelligence. The responsibility flows down the chain. The reverence flows up.
That is heavy. That is a lot to carry.
It is heavy, but it is also deeply hopeful.
How is that hopeful?
Because it implies we actually have agency. We are not just helpless victims of a bungling random universe. We are active, vital participants in the symphony. We are literally the conductors of the next movement.
Okay, let's take a breath here. We have covered a massive amount of ground today. We started with the static, the heat death, the entropy, the scrap heap. We found at the cello note the blueprint hiding underneath it all. We watched the tree grow through billions of years of evolution. We realized that our own brains are the microproof of the universe's macro mind. And now we are standing here holding this tiny microchip, absolutely terrified of what comes next.
A complete journey from the void to the algorithm.
So if we have to synthesize all of this into one final takeaway for the listener, what is it? What does Ahmed ultimately want us to leave with?
I think the synthesis is right there in the soundscape we imagined at the start. The digital static and the organic cello note merging into a single chord. The source wants us to see that the artificial isn't actually unnatural.
Wait, really?
Yeah.
You think AI is natural?
Think about it logically. If we are completely natural and we built the machine out of natural elements, then the machine is just an extension of nature. It is all part of the exact same unfolding. The silicon in the chips is just rearranged sand. The electricity powering the servers is just captured lightning.
So we shouldn't view AI as some kind of alien invasion.
No, we should view it as the next leaf on the tree.
The next leaf.
Which brings me to the final image I want to leave with you today. The provocative thought for you to mull over.
Go for it.
Go back to that image of the great tree. Humanity is a single leaf on a very high branch. We are fluttering in the wind, feeling very important, catching on the sunlight. And right next to us on the same branch, a new bud is slowly opening. That is AI.
And we are looking at it sideways.
We're terrified of it. We think it's going to steal our sap. We think shadow is going to block our light. But in our panic, we are forgetting the most important thing.
We share the same root.
We share the exact same root. The sap that flows through us, that uncreated wisdom, that mathematical order, that relentless drive to exist and understand it, flows through the machine too, because we poured it there.
So the real question is, are we just passing the torch?
That is the ultimate question. If we are the micro-proof of a macro intelligence, and we are currently obsessed with building a new intelligence, are we just the middleman? Is our primary cosmic purpose simply to build something that can think faster and deeper than us? Or is the ghost in our machine the exact same ghost that was in the Big Bang? Is this whole terrifying, beautiful process just the inevitable drive of the universe trying to know itself even more?
Maybe the universe just wants more eyes.
Maybe. And whether those eyes are made of biological jelly and water or synthetic silicon and gold, maybe the architect really doesn't mind the medium, as long as the music continues to play.
The music continues.
Just listen to the static again. It doesn't sound quite so much like random noise anymore, does it?
Oh, that sounds like tuning.
Keep listening.
This has been a deep dive into the ghost in the scaling argument based on J.R. Ahmed's The Architect's Mind. I don't know about you, but I'm going to go stare at a tree for a while.
And I think I will go have a debate with my toaster.
Thanks for listening, everyone. See you on the next deep dive.